Hello, everybody. Today I'll be reading The Enchanted Book, a tale from Krakow by Janina Porzinska. A mill dam, then a pond. At pond's edge, a mill. The water flows along, meal wills never still. Mill well big, mill well small, the miller's daughters, beauties all. Like rosebuds were the miller's daughters, each one more beautiful than the others. And there were 3 of them. The eldest one had hair black as raven's wing, and a face as fair as if it had never seen sunlight. To stay pale, she kept out of the sun. They laughed at her in the village, and a song was written about her. Shady groves she seeks, woods of moss and fern. She hides from the sun, afraid that she might burn. The middle sister had hair red as the leaf of the beech tree, and eyes green as waters running deep. And the third sister was golden-haired, with eyes blue as flax blossoms. With her rosy glow, she seemed to have just descended from the clouds in the fair weather, bringing the azure blue of the sky and the sunlit blush of dawn. Each one had a different beauty, and each one wanted different things in life. The eldest one wanted only to look beautiful. She constantly gazed at her reflection in a looking-glass, in the water of the pond, and enthralled the eyes of her admirers. She constantly asked herself and others, "Do I look pretty with this wreath of flowers in my hair? Or maybe this scarf would be lovelier. Should I pin my braids on top of my head, or let them hang to my waist? What looks more becoming around my neck, a string of amber or a strand of beads?" The middle one wanted only to play, only to dance. Neither work was on her mind nor her mother's good advice. She went from wedding feast to wedding feast, from celebration to celebration, from party to party. The shepherd boy, the village wit, wrote a song about her. "My head aches, my legs ache, I can't do any work, no work, but singing and dancing, I'll come help, I'll help." And the youngest sister was interested in every kind of work. "How do you get the thread you spin to come out so fine, so even? Teach me about it. Mother, wake me up at sunrise at bread baking time, so I can learn to knead the dough. Father, let me ride to town alone to buy new screens for the mill. You have no sons, so a daughter must learn to drive the horses." That's what the miller's 3 daughters were like. Late autumn had come, foreshadowing winter. Heavy clouds gathered in the sky, wind whistled in bare branches, and the earth, stripped of her greenery, drenched by rain, seemed inhospitable to every living thing. An old beggar woman knocked at the mill. Thin and frail she was, hungry and cold, through and through. The miller's family took pity on her. They gave her a seat by the stove and gave her hot soup to eat. The grandmother ate a while and then said, "And now, good people, sit yourselves down and listen while I read how it was centuries ago, ages ago." The old woman dug around in her pack and pulled out a book fastened shut with a strap. Everyone was extremely surprised that a beggar woman could read like a scholar. As long as the mill had been standing, no one so learned yet had been there. Immediately, the youngest daughter got up, fetched a clean cloth from the linen closet, and spread it out on the grandmother's lap. And the old woman put some tobacco in her mouth, opened the book, and began to read. She read about the twins, 2 sons of a forester's wife, who were stolen out of their mother's crib. A she-wolf raised one, a she-bear raised the other. The brothers grew up, one with wolf cubs in the deep woods, and the other with bear cubs in a forest den. The first one was suckled by the she-wolf on mother's wolf's milk, the second by the she-bear on bear's milk, and they grew into immense giants, the likes of which hadn't been seen or heard of before. One of them walked through the woods saying, "It looks like grass didn't grow well this summer, for it barely comes up to my knees." He was referring to pines, lindens, and birches. If a house stood in his way, he'd merely lift his leg and step over it. One of the brothers wished a close look at a cow. When one of the brothers wished a close look at a cow, he'd set it on the palm of his hand and lift it to his eyes like a kitten. That's how big the two giants were. One was named Oak Uprooter, the other Cliff Smasher, and they walked this earth setting things aright. Oak Uprooter pulled up oaks and pines from the Tukoshki forest, carried them on his back like a bundle of kindling, and planted them in the Nipalimica wilderness, for every king who sat on the throne in Wawel Castle wanted thick oak woods and rustling pine forests near the royal city of Krakow. In these woods the kings bred game, bison, buffalo, elk, deer, and boar, so that they could ride to hunt there. Cliff Smasher lifted the Tatra Mountains from underground, and in them he carved valleys as courses for rivers and streams. He sharpened the peaks with his mountaineer's axe, so the clouds would snag and fly off in tatters instead of gathering over the earth and drenching it with torrential rains. Such were the unheard-of wonders described by one as she read from the book. The hut became crowded with people, barely leaving room to move. They listened to these tales. They listened, not knowing which was more amazing: Oak Uprooter, who could pull up huge, spreading trees from the ground as if they were mere carrots, or Cliff Smasher, who could change the features of the Tatra Mountains with his axe, or the old woman, who could look at these little black marks, small as buckwheat kernels, and read such incredible stories from them. A deep dusk had fallen before the listeners remembered that they had to do work and began returning to their huts. And the miller's wife, an intelligent woman, though lacking any book learning, said to the old one, "Grandmother, why should you roam from village to village in this foul weather through these puddles? Winter is coming. Snow, wind, and frost are coming. All the harsh weather hostile to man and beast is coming. Stay here at the mill for the winter. We'll give you a warm room, we'll give you food, and in return you'll teach my daughters to read from books." And so, like this and like that, and like this and that, they came to an agreement. The old woman stayed. In the first week, the eldest daughter went for her lessons, but lessons weren't on her mind. She spun around in the old woman's room and said, "I'll be back, Granny, in just a minute, as soon as I tend to the pigs that got into some mischief." She ran out of the mill and didn't return until evening. She'd gone to a neighbor's to look at new clothes. And the old woman dozed by the stove while the mother thought the daughter was studying. So it was each day with the eldest daughter from Sunday to Sunday. The second week came, and the middle daughter went for her lessons. She, too, spun around in the little room and called out, "I'll be back, Granny, in just a minute, as soon as I hang the laundry to dry on the fence." She left and didn't return until evening, for she'd heard music at the neighbor's across the bridge. And the old woman dozed by the stove while the mother thought that her daughter was studying. So it was each day with the middle daughter from Sunday to Sunday. The third week came, and the youngest daughter went for her lessons. And until dusk drove her from the book, she couldn't tear herself away. She was constantly asking about the letters. "Tell me, Granny, how is this little sign pronounced? And this one? Like a circle. And this one? Like a hook. And this one twisted like a pig's tail." She brought a piece of smooth wax and wrote out the letters on the flat surface with a stick. When a week had gone by, she could read somewhat. Time passed, and springtime came. The older sisters hadn't learned anything from the woman, but the youngest one could read like a wonder. from top to bottom and from bottom to top. Whichever word she was shown, no matter how long, she could tell in a flash what it meant. The word spread far and wide about the miller's daughters, about their beauty, their high spirits, and their learning. The tidings reached an enchanter. The enchanter thought to himself, I must marry one of the miller's daughters. Each one of them is ravishing, and it will be a pleasure to gaze upon her beauty. Each one is merry, and it will be a delight to hear her laughter and her songs. Each one is learned and could well manage my household. And this enchanter was so ugly that he was a fright. He was tall and skinny as a beanpole, with long, scraggly beard, ears like a bat, and a nose like a puffball. The enchanter got dressed as a traveling peddler. He wore a short jacket in a foreign style, leather boots on his feet, and a box of full wares on his back. He stood by the mill calling, ribbons for sale, beads for sale, perfumes for sale. The miller's eldest daughters ran out of the house. Come here on the porch, show me your wares, show me. The peddler went up. He took the box off his back and opened it. He brought out all sorts of trinkets, and he spread them out on the bench. Handkerchiefs, bangles, ribbons, pins, buttons, beads, rings, fragrant soaps. They beamed bright as a rainbow and smelled sweet as a rose. The miller's daughter's eyes shone. Her hands trembled at such beautiful things. She bought as many baubles as she could. The peddler put the rest away. He closed the box and tied it to his back and said, Kind maiden, walk me to the crossroads, for I don't know the shortest way. The miller's daughter went with the peddler, and they reached the crossroads. The enchanter reached into his pocket. He took out a golden apple, and he said, Take this, dear girl, in return for your favor, a golden apple, but you must catch it yourself. And he threw the apple down on the path. The apple rolled away, and the miller's daughter ran after it. Almost, she was just about to grasp it, but the apple slipped out of her hand and rolled further. It rolled by way of a road, a field, a wood, and it stopped at the edge of an abyss. The miller's daughter leaned down and caught the apple, but she lost her balance and slid into the depths. She fell and fell until she reached the bottom of the abyss, but she wasn't bruised at all. She got up and looked around, and there stood a magnificent castle. It had marble walls, crystal windows, and a silver roof. And at her side stood the same peddler who had been at the mill. I am not a peddler, but an enchanter. This is my castle. I am the master here. You will stay here with me, and you will manage my household. And if you are obedient, I will marry you. Come and see how splendidly you will live. The enchanter led the miller's daughter through the chambers, where the furnishings were sumptuous, with each room more magnificent than the rest. The walls were painted, the floors were strewn with bear skins, carpets lay on the benches, silver vessels stood on the tables. You may go anywhere you like. Look at yourself in all the mirrors. Take clothes out of all the chests and dress up in them. He took the miller's daughter to the dining room. Whatever you order to eat or drink will immediately appear on this table. That's a good trick. He walked her to the end of the hall. He stood before a closed door. Beyond this door is a room that you may not enter. Remember this, if you disobey, you will be punished. Then the enchanter disappeared, and the miller's daughter stayed alone in the beautiful castle. The miller's eldest daughter had never liked working, so life at the castle pleased her well. She ran through the chambers. She changed her clothes constantly, always trying a new scarf on her head and standing in front of a mirror. enraptured by her own beauty. When she was hungry, she would go to the dining room, sit at the table, unfold her napkin, and make her wishes known. Whatever she ordered immediately appeared on the table before her. She's having quite the time dressing up. After some time had passed, the girl tired of doing nothing but dressing up. After all, who could see her in these fine clothes? No one, of course. She stood in the hall before the closed door and thought to herself, what could there possibly be in that room? Why did the enchanter forbid me to look? I'll look, just a quick peek. Here I should mention that the miller's daughter always carried the golden apple the enchanter had given her. She looked in. She saw cage after cage, and in each one a bird. All the birds were sad, with hanging heads and drooping wings. In the center of the room stood a table. On the table lay a book sealed with 7 seals. Nothing interesting here. What do I care for birds? What do I care for books? So she left the room and closed the door behind her. He won't know that I was in there. A little time passed. Rumbling wheels approached the castle. A carriage drove out, and out of the carriage stepped the enchanter. Tell me, dear girl, what did you do here? I amused myself by running through the chambers, singing songs and stringing beads on a silken thread. Did you ever enter the forbidden room? No, I didn't. Show me the apple. The miller's daughter took the golden apple out from her bosom, and it was covered with black spots. It was rotten and decayed. See what happened to the apple? You lied. The golden apple always shows me the truth. You did what I forbade. You looked into the room, and you will be punished for it. He locked the girl in a shed. Then he said to himself, I must still decide what to turn her into. But first I'll ride off for the miller's second daughter, as soon as I change my clothes. And the enchanter dressed as a rich nobleman. He shaved his beard and waxed his mustache. He put on a shirt fastened with buttons of gold, and over the shirt a silk jacket, blue in color. On his head he placed a pointed bearskin cap with an egret plume, and he pinned the plume to the cap with a diamond brooch. He girded himself with a heavy gold belt, worked in 4 ornate designs, and he hung a scimitar from the belt. On his feet he wore shoes of red Moroccan leather, for in the words of the song, look at the room. Water flows, cool breeze blows, black shoes for working, red shoes for dancing. It's true indeed that he was ugly, and incredibly so, but it's also true that his costume was eye-catching. The enchanter left his underground kingdom and rode for the mill, and the miller's middle daughter happened to be standing by the pond. She was calling the ducklings to come out of the water, for she had brought them some food. Her hair gleamed like copper in the setting sun. Her eyes were green and mysterious as the water splashing around her slender legs. The enchanter was entranced by the girl. He tore the bearskin cap from his head. He bowed low to the ground before her, and he said, Greetings, fair lady. I'm on my way to my brother's wedding. A small accident has befallen me. The rim has come off a wheel of my carriage. I need a blacksmith to help me. Direct me to the forge, kind maiden. I'll take you there myself, noble sir. The miller's daughter was thrilled at the thought of being seen in the village with such a well-dressed nobleman. She threw the bowl of food to the ground, took off her apron, and said, Come, follow me toward the mill dam. When they passed the dam, the enchanter said, Oh, don't trouble yourself any more, gentle maiden. Just point out with your hand which of the village houses is the blacksmith's. And when the middle daughter showed him the house, he took the golden apple from his jacket pocket, and he said, Accept this apple, lovely maiden, as thanks for your kindness. Oh, it fell from my hand. Oh, It's rolling downhill. Chase after it, dear girl, or it will fall into the water. Catch it for yourself. Catch it." And the same thing happened as last time. The apple rolled away, and the miller's daughter ran after it. Almost, she was about to grasp it, but the apple slipped out of her hand and rolled further. It rolled by the way of a road, a field, a wood, and it stopped at the edge of an abyss.